All right, roll back, Musa, roll back, family. Hope all is well with everyone, all right? And may peace be upon you all. All right, I really mean that. I really mean that there. Right, understanding that the one and only true Messiah, right? The one you all know, right? The one that, grandma sing in the kitchen on Saturday morning, right? Sunday morning, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday, right? The ritual in everyone's cadence. Jesus has returned. All right. The one and only true Messiah, Amun Rayay. All right. And, for all those that say, that's fake, ain't no way. My God. Check it out. Like, that's how you know I ain't lying. Especially, Nuwapians and Sabines. Check it out. Everyone, check it out. Call, one call, that's for all, right? One call, that is for all, right? We all a family here, understand that, all right? So August 12th, 2030, New Jerusalem, right, Crystal City, will be here on the planet. It will be here on Earth, all right, to reap the wheat from the tares, all right? Because a stranger crept in for 6,000 years. You follow that? Do you follow that? All right, fam. So understand what's really going on here. All right. And also understand, 1 year is 6 months. All right. Really understand that. 1 minute, all right, is now 45 seconds. All right. 1 minute is now 45 seconds. You see how the day, right? The day, every day, it ends faster. Around 5 o'clock, it's already shadow. You see? So this thing called time, right? Which backwards is emit, right? Okay, so we know that emit means to produce. Okay, so time, family, is only calculated by events. Okay, because understand, if you didn't have a job, a phone, technology, right? You're just out here. Like Adam and Eve, that picture they paint for you in the Bible, okay? You're just out here, okay? You wouldn't know what time it was, you see, or what time it is, you see. That's why the ancients calculated things through by seasons, right? And they looked at the celestials for time and months and all that, right? Because nature, right? Understand that 9 in the sky is 6 on the ground, right? So nature, family, with as so, above as so below, right? And as below as so above, okay? This is the divine reflection. So if you want to know what's happening up there in the heavens, look here on earth, because there was war on earth and there was war in the heavens. And isn't earth in heaven? With the other many mansions and planets and stars and galaxies and nebulas and cosmos, right? You follow me? Right, so we pretty much see what's going on here on the planet, right? With who's in those high places, right? Bringing down this spiritual wickedness. Right? Understand that. So I guess snatching people because they don't like how they look or how they sound. Allegedly, right, this is organized crime per se. Right? So at the highest level, all right, and shame on us, literally, and myself included, family, for allowing this to happen. It's supposed to be we, the people, and we are the ones that are supposed to control what happens in government, all right? Not government controlling what happens with the people, okay? We've allowed them to literally take control of not only us, family, but Earth, right? This whole planet, we just fall right in line like good old sheep, and literally it's our fault, whether you believe it or not, Ripley. And and it gets deeper because it's the white glove over the black hand, right? White glove over the black hand here. Still, because that the science of linguistic, astrology, cosmology, philosophies, cosmogony, uh, trigonometry, algebra, right? All that, and in the seven liberal arts, came from Moors, all right? Right. So yeah, the Moors, okay, understand that. Yeah, we going there, right? And that family is called the Renaissance, all right? And this is where the Christians, get in their church the term to be born again. Because that's what Renaissance means. Right? And the Moors brought them Europeans out of the dark ages into the light. Right? Out of the darkness came the light, but they comprehended not. Right? They do not want to accept the fact that black people are the chosen pure Nagaru seed. All right? Understand that. And once again, we all are the colored people, right? Because we all have had a box of crayons, markers, pastels, right? Understand that. Because more is just another way to say black, right? Noble is the nature of that, right? So yeah, we brought them out the dark ages, right, into the light, the modern light as well, right? And that knowledge is codified, and that knowledge is symbolized and referred to as Ma'at, right? Or Ma mother, right? Ma'at and the sun, right? S-O-N and S-U-N, right? And S-O-N, right? Ma sun, right? So you got your Ma Sunri, right? You get it? Ma Sunri. So your Ma in the sun, right? That's Mason, all right? So that they get that from Ma'at, okay? The mother in the sun, okay? Because that's balance. You see? Because the sun, right, comes from Yah, right? And, the mother has her way, right? Has it her way with the child. Follow that? All right, fam. So that's what masonry is. All right. We as Moors, as the Western empires, right, going all the way from the Horn, not the Horn, but from the Cape, all the way from the Ivory Coast, all the way up, all around, into Mauritania, right, which is what's now Morocco, huh? Tunis, Tripoli, Egypt, right, and then going all the way back down to the Ivory Coast, Cameroon, and then inside Mali. All of that was the western portion of the empire, right? So we here as Moors have to understand, right, that we are the torchbearers of their bloodline, right? Because after Granada, which one thing, family, they don't tell you is that after, the expulsion of Granada, all of the noblemen and, cats like that already had estates set up for them over here, right? Because those estates was established for them over there, right? Because remember, it was ancestors, Salafu, huh? Right? From northern, right, and northwestern Africa that went up into what they now call España, right? And set up all those dominions as far up into the southern France, what we call the Pyrenees today, okay? And for centuries, the world has quietly carried the fingerprints of the Moors, right? Now we know what they mean when they say he's got the whole world in his hands, huh? That's right. It's a melanated non-ether tone coming from a not melanated non-ether throne, all right, casting white stones, all right, with the white glove on, all right, the black hand, right, Leviathan, all right, you follow that? Now, understand, right, so there's a black tone coming from a black throne, all right, casting white stones, right, with the white glove on the black hand, right, aka Leviathan, all right. We've been doing it to ourselves the whole time. Understand that, family. Background, right? Hey, the context of the one and only true Messiah, Amun Rayay. Hey, we will continue this, all right? I love you all, family. Wadu.